Okay. I think we're I think we're also live. Uh, we're also live on X. So yeah. Um, Hello guys, welcome back to Sovereign Sentinels. I'm David Tablante, founder of Sovereign Sentinels. I help people that are making 10K per month or more with their online business to leave the West. Okay, that's what I always say. No voting, no fighting, only leaving. And today we're going to do our post Christmas. Okay, post Christmas. Well, I think it's still Christmas in the West, perhaps. But here in the Philippines is already Friday, December 26, 2025. Okay, it's 3 a.m. right now in the Philippines. So, yes, on to today's topic expat guide to the Philippines. So this is going to be our first thread for today. Okay. Wait, let me check if I'm, because this is my first time doing the X space, so I don't really know if it's working. Okay, I'm just gonna go and check. Oh, wait a minute. This does this disconnect me? Oh no, I'm not gonna join it from here then. Okay. Well, since I'm also recording this with OBS, if this doesn't work, then I'm just going to upload the YouTube version. Okay, the YouTube version. So where was I? Okay, expat guide to the Philippines. Treat this as your FAQ. How much online income? Well, we've already established that the minimum should be three to $4,000. Although that is not recommended, since uh, honestly, $3,000 to $4,000 per month might come a long way if you don't want to live like a king in the third world. Uh, you're not going to be able to go to the best places. We've already talked about this on X. You know the I've talked about hyperpolygyny, dating the sevens, multiple sevens, eights, nines, and tens out of 10. Okay, we've talked about that in great detail, in great length. I've been repeating myself over and over about uh, hyperpolygyny and living outside the West. Okay, so yeah, minimum does not mean that it's optimal. Minimum does not mean that it's the ideal income. Okay, so the ideal income is 10K per month or more in net income after taxes and expenses. Okay, where to live? So Makati is where I live in Taguig, which is BGC. Okay, Bonifacio Global City or BGC. That's like the most posh area of the Philippines, and the real estate prices there are comparable to first world pricing, but of course that's because you're going to get first world benefits. Okay, it's really safe there, and it's really a status upgrade if you live in Makati or BGC, which is in Taguig. Okay, Angeles City is so overrated, and it's not as if the expats or the pastor bros are able to get the pretty women from Angeles City. I think it's super overrated. Everyone's going to Angeles City. It's like the red light district of Angeles City is geographically located within Pampanga, which is like a province. Uh, it's a province that's near Metro Manila, okay, adjacent to Bulacan, which is also another province connected to Metro Manila, okay. If you want to connect more with the locals, let's say you're already living in Angeles City right now, but you still haven't established yourself there, and you want a more local experience instead of the more international experience, because Angeles is pretty international. You can go live in San Fernando in Pampanga. If not, Quezon City is alright as well. If you really want to go local, then I suggest Quezon City. But the problem with Quezon City is that if you want to get a permanent residence in the Philippines, you need to get real estate that is worth $75,000 or more, okay, or more. And it's really hard to find a house that is worth more than $75,000, except if you're going to buy a condo in Makati or Taguig. Okay, you can't buy like two houses or two units. You need to buy a condo, a single condo that's worth more than $75,000 if you want to get a permanent residency. Well, it doesn't give automatically give you a permanent residency. It gives you the investor visa. Okay. Baguio, if you like semi-cold temperate weather. The Philippines mostly has tropical weather. For suburban and rural, any province outside Metro Manila is okay. Bulacan, Bulacan, Rizal, Cavite, and Laguna are suburban enough to have hospitals and other amenities. But there's also the rural life. Okay, how to date the women. Okay, you can do cold approach, but it's once again it's a third world country, and expats. A lot of expats are doing it wrong. Okay, they think. Wait, I'm gonna check my X space. I don't know if it's still up. Is it still on? Oh, okay. So what a lot of passport bros do wrong is that they think that it's cold approach, or it's Tinder, or these dating apps. And honestly, if you want to date the really high value women here in the Philippines, you're not dating apps like you might think that because dating apps are popular in the West, so it might be popular here in the Philippines. Well, that's just not the case. And the women who are much more predatory are usually the ones using the dating apps. Okay, so you do not want to use the dating apps. It might sound like a joke, but the best dating app in the Philippines is Facebook. Okay, Facebook, specifically Messenger, and TikTok. TikTok is a close second. Someday it will surpass Facebook, but Facebook is still pretty popular in the Philippines because we're still old school, and also YouTube. Okay, so you'll be surprised how important social media is in dating the women here in the Philippines. Okay. Oh, as I said, it's also heavy on social media. Facebook is still used, but the younger women, if you want to date Gen Z women, 18 to 22 years old, okay, they use TikTok heavily. They don't use Twitter, okay, they don't use X as much, okay, because the women that are heavily using X are usually into politics. And I don't know why, but it's usually the ugly women in the Philippines that are into politics, and therefore they use X. Okay, not a lot of high value women that use X. Okay, and if they do, they use an anon profile. Okay, so you wouldn't know that they're actually in the dating marketplace, as we say in the red pill community. Okay, dating apps are not used by the pretty women here. Don't use dating apps. You have been warned. So if you want to date the pretty women in the Philippines, unlike most expats here that date the uglies, thereby ruining this country's reputation. So I gave you three tips. Make friends with locals, optimize your social media, of course, prioritize personal. I meant to say personal, but I had a typo. Persona development. It's supposed to be personal development. Go to the gym. And I always ask for your guys' DMs, but I don't know about you guys, but it takes you a while before you start sending me your DMs, okay? I reply to all DMs that are productive, that are related to our productive endeavors, okay? Okay, let me close that. Oh, where's my... Okay. Okay, so shout out to Financial Dystopia. Once you move out of the urban United States, metros, and explore other countries, only then do some people realize how dystopian these cities are. Okay, and this is why I've been telling you guys it's already 2026. okay, that if you're already making 10K per month or more in net income after taxes and expenses, then you need to prepare for your foreign domicile, okay, your first foreign domiciles. There are four foreign domiciles: residency or lifestyle, you've got the business or corporate domicile, you have your financial domicile, and then you have your passport domicile. The reason why I put the passport domicile last is because you guys are coming from the first world west, and passports from the first world west typically come with good passports, okay, so you don't really have to uh, prioritize changing your passport or changing your citizenship, uh, at least not yet, okay, except if you're from a country that you think is going to war with Russia within the next decade or so, then yeah, you need to prioritize that. But even then, I recommend that you prioritize getting for your first foreign domicile first, okay? Since you need to have a permanent residency, okay? And once you have a permanent residency, it's going to be harder for your governments back home, just in case there's another bullshit war, there's another military draft, and they're trying to drag your ass back into your home country that's about to wage war, okay? At least you have a permanent residency, okay? And it doesn't really take that long to like deal with the multiple residencies, with the multiple domiciles. But the hardest to deal with is the first domicile, because that's where you're gonna live for most of the year, okay? Okay, so shout out to Stina Carlson. Okay, so Stina Carlson, this person quoted a post from Richard. Remember that moment when Ursula von der Leyen, during an interview, was asked, "Are your own children in the military?" "No," she said. Okay? And you fuckers are going to die for this Ursula von der Leyen. And she doesn't even have skin in the game. Her children are not even in the military, okay? So why the fuck would you stay in your collapsing Western country? That's why you need to leave, okay? There's no voting your way out of this. There's no fighting your way out of this. Only leaving. Okay, so next post. Multiple domicile strat in the Philippines. Required reading for expats, okay? Okay, we've already talked about this, okay? So lifestyle, Philippine style in Brazil, Mexico, or Mexico, right? The cost of living is low, but taxes are normal or just slightly lower. Okay, we've already talked about this at length. You can just check this out on X. Okay, so huge victory for British farmers. Okay, so they're showing you these posts because the powers that be want to give you copium. They want to give you hope. They want to give you hope that things can still be turned around, okay? But I'm going to tell you this. It's not going to be turned around. Why? Because once again, what's the title of my space? Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam, okay? Repairing the world or global renovation. Global reset. Agenda 30. Okay? Agenda 30. Okay? It's not as if you know the elites have been yearning to do their global reset agenda for so long, and they've been behind schedule, right? Because before Agenda 2030, it was Agenda 21, and then it was Agenda 2010 or something. They keep moving the goalposts, but not because they are not successful with what they're doing. They are successful with some stuff, but not all. Okay, they're not able to meet all the quotas. They're not able to meet all of their targets. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you no longer have to leave the West. Okay. Okay, so yeah, EU giving more money to Zelensky. Okay. And your taxes are paying for this. Okay, so in France, North African migrant blocks a train in Paris and starts throwing stones while shouting, Allahu Akbar. What kind of antisocial, aggressive Stone Age behavior is this? I've been telling you guys, you need to leave. You need to leave France, Germany, UK, doesn't matter. If you're from the first world West, especially from Canada, UK, EU, Australia, and you're young millennial or Gen Z, it is very highly likely, okay, there's a really high chance that that we are about, oh, sorry, there's a high likelihood that we're going to see the collapse of these first world countries in our lifetimes, okay? Okay, so banger post from X Adrian Sadrin. Okay. You just need one pair of balls and an entire bloodline to change the lives of thousands of your descendants forever. Okay. And so why did I bookmark this? Because Sovereign Sentinels, okay, level 0 or the tutorial phase of Sovereign Sentinels is the leaving the West, okay, the Exodus, okay. If you guys are not familiar with the Bible story of Exodus, Exodus is one of the first 5 books, okay, the books of Moses, so to speak. Exodus is the second book of the first 5 books, which is called the Torah, okay, so Torah, part of the Old Testament or Tanakh, okay, and so Exodus it tells us a story about how the Hebrew people, okay, or the Ivrim, okay, in Hebrew, the Hebrew people are called Ivrim, okay. Before they became Israelites, they were first called Hebrew people, okay, during the time of late Genesis and Exodus, okay. Ivrim, okay. Well, they were also called Israelites, but like, if you read some of the passages, the author of Exodus still refers to them as Hebrew. Okay, the term is Israelites. It was much more commonly used after Exodus than the word Yisraelim. Okay, Yisraeli. Uh, People think that Israeli, okay, it's like English. No, it's actually from Hebrew, okay? Okay, where was I? Oh, I actually closed the tab. Okay, I think we've already talked about this. Like, yes, your governments, your Western elites are letting these people in. So, once again, this is like the what the rabbis were talking about the Ishmaelim. Okay, Ishmaelim, the descendants of Ishmael. Okay, so uh, there were two figures, right? Ishmael, you know, the patriarch of the eventual Muslims, you know, uh, of the adherents of Muhammad, okay, of Prophet Muhammad, and then you have Israel, like Israel, or the Hebrew people, the Jewish people of today. Although there are multiple, there's like controversy about how the modern people of today, are not actually from Jacob, or not actually from, or are not actually from Israel, and that they were from a different tribe. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, and there's a lot of controversies about that. But That the basic premise is that the Muslims, okay, the descendants of Ishmael, okay, are going to be the broom of Judea. They are going to be the broom of Judea. That's also going to be an integral part. They're going to be the primary factors of how Edom, okay, the First World West, specifically the United States of America, but also the First World West, Edom, is going to collapse. It's because of the broom of Judea, or Ishmael and his progeny, which are the modern day Muslims. Which is why you need to leave the First World West. I keep saying you this. I keep saying this to you guys. I keep telling you this. You guys are not listening. Okay, 1984. Okay, which is what's going on in UK, especially the UK. I don't know how people even live in the United Kingdom anymore. It's like, especially if you're rich, like there's no reason for you to stay in the United Kingdom if you're already rich as fuck and you're earning, even if you're not earning online income, if you have the money, it doesn't matter if you're self-made or if you're a trust fund baby, it does not fucking matter, because if you don't leave, okay, before Agenda 30 hits, before it fully metastasizes, then you're going to fucking regret it. I promise you, you're going to regret it. Because the elites are hell-bent on destroying Edom, okay? You guys need to read about the eschatology of the various secret societies. I know Professor Jiang, Professor Jiang Xueqi, has talked about this, but he has gone over some lectures about eschatology, okay? You guys think that this eschatology and all this spirituality is all this religion, it's all bullshit. No, it's not, okay? The elites actually believe in this. And it doesn't matter if what the elites believe in is true, if it's objectively true or not. But what matters is that they believe in it. And because they believe in it, they are going to act accordingly, okay? And if they act accordingly to their eschatologies and whatever, hyperstitious beliefs that they have, then of course it's going to affect our material reality, even spiritual, okay? So we need to protect ourselves. And the only way for us to protect ourselves is if we become the ruling class ourselves. We don't even need to become we don't even need to become the peer or the near peer competitor, or we don't even need to, how the fuck do I say that in English? We don't need to become the Kabalim. We don't need to become the Adonim, okay? Because the Adonim is like the transnational ruling class that have been ruling over the First World West for hundreds of years, okay? I've already talked about the history of the Bank of England and of the City of London and of the Federal Reserve, and how Western imperialism was just a tool of the elite tiny hats, okay? So Western imperialism was not because, the white race was superior and all that, which is why they were able to take over the whole world or something like that. Contrary to the belief of the white supremacists, okay, Western imperialism, the entire point of that Western imperialism, the entire point of conquering the third world was to enrich the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim banking elites, okay? The Ashkenazim elites being the Rothschilds, okay? It has nothing to do with the white people being superior and everything, because historically speaking, the prosperous regions were actually China and the Middle East, okay? With the Sumerian, Babylonian civilizations, and with China, okay? These two regions were actually the most prosperous regions historically, okay? It's the Middle East and China, okay? And Europe was actually, if you study history, Europe was actually the backwater, uncivilized, and barbaric regions, okay? And it's only in the last hundreds of years, last couple hundred of years, that Europe and the First World West in general was the dominant power. And unfortunately, uh, I think I've already mentioned this a couple of times, but I'm going to repeat it yet again. It's I always harken back to this Bible verse. Okay, what's the it's Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. Okay, in Hebrew it's Mashaya Ushia Mashanasa Ushia Se Venka Hadasha Tashamish. Okay, what has been done will be done again. What has happened will happen again. There is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9, which is, I always tell you guys that. Okay, and so since the aberration of the First World West, Edom, is now coming to an end. Okay, because when you say aberration, it means anomaly. Okay, the First World West becoming first world and becoming developed, historically speaking, is an anomaly, is an aberration. So naturally, what's going to happen in on a long enough time horizon, what's going to happen? It's going to correct itself. History is going to course correct. And what does that mean? It means that the First World West won't be able to enjoy their developed status for that long, okay? Because they've been kicking the can down the road. They cannot keep their power and prosperity forever, okay? Eventually, it's going to come back to the Middle East and China and the rest of the third world, excluding South Asia. I don't have that much optimism for South Asia, unfortunately, because it has been a dysfunctional. Well, people say that, oh, Indo-Aryan or something bullshit like Indus Valley civilization, but the India of today is not a continuation of the Indus Valley civilization. Meanwhile, China of today, we can argue that China of today is more of a continuation of the ancient Chinese civilization during the Bronze Age. But India of today is definitely not a continuation of the Indus Valley civilization. Because if you read about the Indus Valley civilization, there's been tons of, discoveries about IVC and how great it was. And if India was really the continuation, then how come were they not able to continue what the IVC, the Indus Valley civilization, has been able to accomplish, okay? Okay, so what's this? Oh, okay. I've realized why the Matrix is now promoting these types of content. Sure, there may be morsels of truth in this, but what this type of content really promotes is scapegoating and self-abnegation of responsibility. It's not my fault that I'm not successful. It's the system. Oh, it's the system. Oh, it's the Rothschilds. It's the Rockefellers. Oh, it's the Bill Gates Melinda Foundation. It's their fault why I'm not rich. It's their fault why I'm still working a job at McDonald's and I'm about to get fired because of the AI. Oh, woe is me. Woe is me. Shut the fuck up. Shut your bitch ass up. Okay, let's watch this. Oh, the synagogue of Satan. Oh, tiny hats yet again.
They don't believe that we deserve the money.
Okay.
These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods, that they are the chosen, that they are God's special people, that we are delusional, and that the true creator is this wisdom principle that they think of as Lucifer, that wisdom principle gave us ancient mystery school teachings, and that the enemy, which they call Adonai, the adversary, which we would call the Christian God, came to try to defeat them. Then they even take it a step further and they look at texts like the Bible and they say that where it says in the end times...
Oh, I don't think that you guys are hearing this in the X space. Okay, so because I'm playing a video right now, I'm still trying to figure out how to do this X space. Okay, because you can't do this in desktop, but I'm recording this in desktop. Okay, And if you guys want to see the videos, you can just rewatch the YouTube upload. And I'm also going to upload this on X. I forgot to upload the last video on X. Okay, so this time I'm going to upload this recording. Okay, I actually want to do a live stream, but like since I haven't uploaded that much on YouTube, of course I wouldn't be able to do it live. Okay, so unfortunately the masses are falling for this. They think that they have awoken. Okay. All the good things in life are hard to get. Scapegoating and researching about the cabal. The cabal, oh, it's the cabal. The Rothschilds, oh, the 13 bloodline families of the Illuminati. Shut the fuck up. Alright? Okay, we all know it's the Sabbatean Francus Illuminati, or insert name of cabal here. And so what? Alright, so what? If you're still poor, fat as fuck, with no girlfriend, alright, then who fucking cares? Does the truth matter if you don't have progeny to pass it on with? Money is fiat. It is made up, but there is value in it. People don't care about the intrinsic value or that the US dollar doesn't have any basis whatsoever. Who cares? Right? What people care is that the US dollar can buy you stuff. Right? Well, I've gone so far that now I've returned back to pragmatism. Okay. And once they become super successful, once they get all the money and bitches, that's the time where they need to get fully red pilled. Okay? Because you guys, even I have been a victim of this. Even I. Because like, red pilling yourself could be fully red pilling yourself, not just about money, not just about self-improvement and intersexual dynamics. Okay, if you red pill yourself too early, especially about the real hardcore stuff about the history of the Bank of England, that's really the deepest you can go. That still makes sense and is actually historically grounded. Okay, not like the elites are actually reptilians and they come from planet Nibiru and they worship their god Satan. You know what I mean? That's like going off the deep end. That's like too conspiratorial and shit. Okay, it's not grounded on a basis of truth. Okay, but you can research about the origins of the Bank of England and the origins of the City of London and the origins of the Federal Reserve. I think that's as far you can go. Okay, and once you know the full truths about the system that we are currently living in, of course, there's a high likelihood that you're gonna get depressed. Now, obviously, I'm basing it off my own experience. Okay, studying these truths. Okay, nobody really told us how to react or how to live in accordance with the knowledge of the truth, okay? Which is why I always share. Okay, let me just check the note. Okay. So, which is why I'm always sharing the meme, okay? The meme about the emet, okay? The emet, that's the inscription that the Kabbalah wizard, okay, inscribes on the forehead of the golem. Okay, so before the golem doesn't really move, but then the wizard or the rabbi, depending on what version of Jewish mythology you're reading, they're going to inscribe, the master is going to inscribe the emet. The emet is the Hebrew word for truth. And once you inscribe that word on the forehead of the golem, it comes it's like the Genesis, right? It's like it becomes alive, is what I'm trying to say. And so once it becomes alive, it's going to follow the bidding of its master, because the master is the one who wrote the version of the truth on the forehead of the golem, which is beneficial for the master and not the golem, which is why I always talk about shepherd's concern. Okay, shepherd's concern and the dialectic of the master and of the slave, okay? Because the shepherd does not intrinsically care for the herd. The shepherd does not care for the sheep, only as far as how much wool and how much milk and how much meat the shepherd can extract from the animals, okay, from the livestock that he's herding, okay? The hard part is going back to the system, so to speak, into the system. Once you've known most truths that the powers that be try their very best to hide from us. As long as humanity exists, there will always be a system, a matrix. There was never an escape from the matrix. There is only an escape from the 99.99%, the losing team, and getting into the winning 0.01% team. That is the truth all along. The secret is that there is no secret. History is class struggle. Shout out to Karl Marx, okay? He was right about that thing, okay? Rich versus poor, smart versus stupid, pretty versus ugly. This has always been, still is, and will always be the rules of the game. For those who have read this, I hope that this thread helps you, okay? 4 years left before the infamous 2030 agenda. No scapegoating, no cabal tagging, only winning. After 2030, there will be a chasm between the have-nots, 99.99%, and the have-yots, 0.01%. Oh, I haven't opened a new tab. I thought I opened a new tab. Okay. Here's a post about, or a quote rather. I quoted Pat Stedman. Is that how you read it? I don't know how to read it. Pat Stedman, dating and relationship coach. Okay, so he said something about Tate. Yeah, he's more virtuous than 90%. More than 90% of men today, which is true. Okay? And so I replied, or I quoted rather, most are not going to make it. People are literal NPCs. They started seeing the Tate hating bandwagon and started joining without any good reason. Literal NPC herd mentality. Now I understand why the elites think the way they think, especially how they treat the 99%. Okay, this is what Tate talks about. You know, being elitist and shit. Oh shit, where's my live stream? Okay, let's go back. You know, and it's hard not to be elitist once you see how the 99% operates, how they live their lives, how they think, okay? Which is funnily enough, if you're not a trust fund baby, you know, if you've come from the poor or lower middle class like me, and you've experienced poverty, or you've experienced some struggle in your life, and then you make it. Okay, because as I always tell you guys back then, you know, I didn't really have much money. I wasn't really able to afford what I wanted to buy. That's where I started doing my online money journey. Okay, I did everything. You know, customer service. You know, I tried applying for being a virtual assistant. That didn't really work out. You know, and that's where I found my my online money, okay, my opportunity in the online money space. If you guys still can't notice for some reason, I grew up bilingual. I speak both English. I speak both English, okay, and Tagalog, okay. And since I speak both fluently, that's how I became, or that's one of the talents that God has given me. And together with the talent that God has given me, I was able to hone those talents and develop it into a money-making skill. And that's how I was able to, you know, do content. Content creation is what I really do, okay? I was also doing some voice acting, especially for local businesses, both English and Tagalog, okay? So I was doing all that I could do. I was doing video editing and clipping, but primarily my money came from clipping. Okay, because back then there wasn't really any AI software that did the fancy subtitles and the fancy edits. That's what I did. Okay, to bring myself out of unemployment and poverty. Okay, so voice acting, clipping, but primarily clipping, and editing the videos, and also the sound, because I know how to use Audacity. Okay, so I also augmented the voice quality. This part of like my package, this part of my service, because I did this freelancing stuff. Okay, so that's how I pulled myself out of poverty. Mio Sub. Okay. A foreigner claims Japan was made for Muslims, using selective interpretations of Buddhism in temples, leaving viewers feeling there's no real respect. And yes, I think that we're gonna see more. We're gonna see more and more content like this. Okay, it's all part and parcel of the Agenda 30. It's all part and parcel of Tikkun Olam. Okay, and Ishmaelim. Okay, the progeny of Ishmael. The Muslims are going to sweep across the First World West. That includes Japan, and to a lesser extent, South Korea. Okay, so this is about Epstein. This is a post from Matthew Peterson. Damn, this is actually from 2019. The takeaway of the Epstein story from start to finish is simple. There's no rule of law. Okay, so this is a pretty long post, but basically what it's trying to tell us is that this is, for the masses to develop learned helplessness. Okay, when the system, when everyone else, especially the ruling class, is abusing you over and over again, and you ask for help, and those and the people and the institutions which are supposed to help us are not only not helping us, but are also actively contributing to the abuse of us. What happens is our hope, our motivation, we lose all of that, and that's where we develop learned helplessness, because we see that nobody is coming to save us. There's no hope anymore. There's no going your way out of this, even though there is, which is why you need to leave the First World West before 2030 comes, okay? Before Agenda 2030 comes. And yet, people think that, there's no hope, which is bullshit. But what the elites are trying to do to us is for us to develop learned helplessness, even though we are not helpless. Okay, we are not helpless. We can do something about the whatever shitty situation you're in. Okay, as much as I hate repeating myself over and over, it doesn't mean that you're making tens, if not hundreds, if not millions of dollars in net income after taxes and expenses. Just because you're making that kind of money does not mean that you're already set for life. I repeat, making tons of money, okay, being in the top 0.1% of income earners in the First World West does not automatically mean that you are set for life. It does not mean that you're going to be saved from the Tikkun Olam, from the 2030, from the Agenda 2030, okay? And the only way for you to protect yourself from this, besides, of course, believing in God, because, at this point, it's like a spiritual war, and they're trying to, extinguish whatever's left of the faith of humanity, okay? They're trying to extinguish that from us. They're trying to destroy whatever connection we have with the divine, okay? But it's not just either you go purely spiritual and forget the material, or you forget the spiritual and you go 100% in the material thing. No, it's yin and yang, you guys. It's both. Because both a spiritual war and also a material war. They're trying their very best for us not to believe in God and to believe in whatever bullshit they're peddling us, this LGTV satanic bullshit, whatever the fuck that thing is. This Loki virus, okay? They're trying to peddle that to us. Plus, they're also trying to wage a material war on us because, as they said, this isn't coming from me. This is what they said, right? You guys are all familiar with the own nothing and you'll be happy. That's also a material war. Okay, that's not only a spiritual war. That's also a material and financial war. Okay, which is why I always promote, my teachings, because learning about the truths of the universe without all of the bullshit, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and all of the bullshit. Oh, the reptilians from planet Nibiru is some bullshit. Okay, because they're poisoning the wells. Okay, they're muddying the waters, which is why the elites are promoting, half truths, half lies, like the fucking reptilian garbage. Okay, it's because they're trying to censor the people who are saying all facts. Okay, they're trying to censor the people who are much closer to the truth. Okay, like how we do it here at Sovereign Sentinels. Okay. An English farmer reports receiving an official document requiring a 50% cut in livestock numbers by 2030, with a goal of full elimination by 2050. And guess who has signed up to that? Keir Starmer and Bill Gates.
Put it in writing.
Okay, let's watch what he has to say.
This is serious now, guys. I'm in receipt of a document which states that by 2030 there is to be a 50% reduction in farmed animals, and by 2050 100% zero farm animal system in place. And guess who has signed up to that? Yes, the two biggest arseholes in the world, Starmer and Bill Gates. What more proof do I want? And I've got it in writing. So it looks like their little world takeover is coming along nicely for them, but unfortunately, we've now got the document. So over to us now, guys. At World War IV commence. We don't need to be at war with Russia. We're going to create our internal one. Keep Britain farming, folks. Ta-ra. This is serious.
And this is what I've been telling you guys over and over again. Your enemy in the First World War is not Russia, and it's definitely not China, okay? Because China is benefiting by selling you cheap manufactured goods. So why the fuck would they kill their number one customer? Okay, and this is what people don't realize, because what people don't know is that the elites are trying to distract you, with all of these bread and circuses. Okay, shout out to the National Endowment for Democracy. Okay, that's like the successor to the CIA. The CIA is not that active anymore. And so the more active one is the successor, which is the National Endowment for Democracy, or the NED. Okay, I'm not like against them per se. I'm just telling you guys what the truth is. Okay, and they're trying to propagate that, China is our number one enemy, Russia is our number one existential threat. But no, they're trying to distract you guys. Okay, the real culprits of whatever collapse, whatever decline the First World War is experiencing right now is the elites. Not all of them, okay? Not all of them, okay? But there's a significant malevolent faction of the Adonim, of the elites, okay? The Adon in Hebrew means Lord, okay? The master. Kabbalim is the Kabal, but I made it Hebrew sounding, okay? With the im Hebrew plural suffix. And these people are among the primary factors as to why your Western country is declining, which is why you need to leave. Okay, because if you fight, okay, If you fight them, the elites are going to use that as a pretense, as a pretext, as an excuse to accelerate the agenda. Okay? You're going to jail or you might end up dead, which is why I don't recommend you staying and fighting. Alright? Okay. Oh, this is a post from Iberian America. This should have been in the live stream. But yeah, shout out to Iberian America. Okay, instead you can have 2 wives. Okay, this should have been in the other folder. Okay. Oh wait, did he? Okay. So this is a post from Andrew Tate. 99.9% of 40-year-old men with $700 million sit around with whores. I could have done the same and talked shit on the internet and took no risks and just lived easy. In my heart, I knew I'm too old. Okay. Chase is a true champion, a warrior. I'm proud of him. He deserves that belt. Okay, so yeah, it's still a W overall. People are missing the forest for the trees. Okay. People think that, oh, Andrew Tate caught this massive L because he lost after hyping up this fight only to end up losing. Listen, you guys are not Andrew Tate. Okay, you guys don't even have 5 to 10% of whatever he has achieved. And what's unfortunate with the internet is that as soon as I say something like that, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're dick riding Tate. Oh, you're deep throating Tate's dick. Oh, you're dick riding and dick riding." Look, you insufferable retards. Okay. Saying the truth does not automatically mean that I'm dick riding whoever the fuck the person is. Alright? We're just standing up for what's right. We're just standing up for what's the truth. Okay? And the fact of the matter is that whatever you think about Andrew Tate and the people who are speaking the truth and teaching the young men of today how to live their lives. Okay, whatever stupid opinion you have about them, the truth always comes out. I know it's Buddha, but it's like it was really MLD who popularized that quote, right? It was like 3 things always come out: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Okay, the truth always comes out, and the people who are clowning Tate, today are a vast majority of them are going to be forgotten, okay? They're no-name, low-value beta male faggots, okay? So we shouldn't be concerned about the Tate-hating bandwagon, okay? We shouldn't be distracted by the theater, okay, this Tate-hating bandwagon, nor should we join the bandwagon because these people who are joining in on it are fucking NPC golems, okay? I keep telling you this. Wait. Okay. Okay, so it's this freedom. I don't know if this is actually Muslims or if it's the IDF or Mossad doing this. I don't know. Maybe it's from Mossad. But I don't really care at this point. Okay, so I made a post about people make the mistake of not reading his books and just knowing him based on shit posted memes. Okay, so I don't think if this is like an ideological subversion or something, but like people talk shit about Klaus Schwab, but like most of these people who post about him on the internet never really read his books, okay, or they didn't really do their due diligence, okay. If you actually read them, it's a foreshadowing of what's about to happen within the next 10 to 20 years. Elites do what I call WEF speak. WEF speak. You gotta read between the lines. Dude, why is this still here? Okay, so this is a funny AI video. We all know it's AI. It's obvious that it's AI, but we're going to watch it anyway. Okay?
And what better way to celebrate the holidays than ushering in the synagogue of Satan? This is what we all voted for, am I right? Isn't that a good going? You just keep sending your little taxpayer money to our country, and we won't bring out the Samson option. Wow, can't wait to lose my First Amendment rights, all to fulfill the chosen people prophecy. And what better way to...
Okay, so once again, okay, and people are not really asking the question, why now? Okay, because for the last few decades, the Yehudim, okay, or the Jews. I don't like using the term Jews, okay, because it might trigger some AI algorithmic throttling. Okay, that's why I use the Hebrew term Yehudim, okay, Yehudim, and the Yehudim, okay, have been pretty much immune from criticism. This every time somebody criticizes the Yehudim, even if it's not anti-Semitic, people tend to call it anti-Semitic, and then they immediately get shut down. Okay? But nobody's really asking why it's now being promoted today. Okay? And I've been telling you guys, the Adonim don't even care about the Yehudim. Okay? The Adonim, the ruling class, don't really care about the Jews that much. Okay? Professor Zhang was right on this one. Okay, Professor Jiang Xueqin was right on this one. That the Jews have been a tool of empire, a tool of the Adonim, a tool of the ruling class. Okay, they're the middle managers. It's only because they're the most visible to us, which is intended, which is deliberate. Okay, it's deliberate. It is deliberate that the Yehudim are the most visible elites, so to speak, but they're not really the totality of the ruling class, because believe it or not, a lot of the people that rule us today, can trace their origins back to even the Roman times, the Greek times, the Ottoman Empire times, okay? Men killing 1 billion people in wars over all of human history. Women killing 1.3 billion people via abortion since 1980. And what people don't realize, I always keep coming back to Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. But what people don't realize is that abortion, okay, was actually done in ancient times, okay, during Sumerian times. Because what I've seen studying history is that history tends to oscillate back and forth between the Sumerian times, which is the more chaotic but more truthful times. Okay, the elites are not as hypocritical, and they tend to aestheticize the rituals, right? They tend to be less hypocritical, okay, and they tend to have more pagan values, like hyperpolygyny, orgiastic sex, and drugs are not taboo. You know what I mean? And sometimes even incest is romanticized, right? A lot of the things that people of today, since they have zero knowledge about the real history, okay, not the supposed history taught in our school textbooks, but like the real history, right? Most people do not have any idea about the real history. But the original traditional conservative values of the Bronze Age, okay, what began, or what gave rise, what gave birth to the dawn of the human civilization, was the Sumerian values, okay, of paganism, of polytheism, of hyperpolygyny, okay, and murder and conquest, and the G word. They weren't really considered that bad, if you know what I mean. And if like the ethics back then were like, let's say somebody did something bad to you, okay, and then you committed vengeance, okay, and so by pursuing vengeance, you murder that other person, okay. People are not going to think, oh, you killed that person, so you must be a bad person. You're going to burn in hell, because Christianity didn't exist back then. Okay, the Abrahamic religions did not exist back then. What people think is that, oh, you've been possessed by the god of vengeance, or whatever that is. If you happen to have sex with a woman that you haven't even married yet, or you haven't even dated yet, but then you just had, you just hooked up. People don't think, oh, you're going to burn in hell because you committed a sin. Okay, you should have been married first. You should have done you should have followed the tradition of the church. What people think is that, oh, you too have been possessed by the goddess of love, or the goddess of lust, or something, or the goddess of fertility. That's why you guys hooked up and did casual sex. That's how ethics worked back in the day. Okay? Same with abortion. Abortion, believe it or not, was not a bad thing back in the day. Okay? And it was the priestesses of the goddess of fertility, the Kadishtus, or the Qaidesha, okay, that facilitated abortions. Not only did they facilitate childbirth, okay, so they were also acting as midwives, they were also facilitating abortion, especially if, what if a famine comes? And of course, there's a scarcity of food, okay, so you wouldn't even be able to feed yourself, and so you'd die. Both the mother and the child still inside the womb would die, because there's a famine going on right now, right? And so what would happen is the woman, would abort the child so she could live. And so when the famine is over and the abundant times arrive again, then she's going to have she's going to start the family again. She's going to start over with a new child, okay? And people don't think of this, okay? People don't read about the history, the real history. Okay? And by the way, for those who don't know, for those who are not familiar with my content, or if this is your first time watching this, okay? Please like, comment, and subscribe, not only in my YouTube, but also on my X, okay? And also, another caveat is that the Kadisha, or the Kadishtu, is the temple sex priestess, okay? Believe it or not, prostitution wasn't really considered a bad thing back in the day. If anything, it was a clerical function, a religious function, okay? So, this is the reason why I always say the dawn of Judea, the dusk of Judea is now upon us, for we shall bask beneath the dawn of new Sumer. Okay? Why do I say dusk of Judea? Why do I say the twilight of Judea? Okay? It's because Judea is like the operating system of earth, okay? Where we follow the Abrahamic morals and values, of Judaism, of Christianity, of Islam, okay? All of that is going to die in the New World Order. And it's already dying as we speak, okay? There's already tons of people who are not Christian. Well, you're gonna see some people. Oh, Gen Z is becoming based again, and they're starting to believe in religion again. Nah, that's just a fad. Okay, the reality is that most people don't really believe that much in a higher power anymore, and even if they do, they're not as serious in their hyperstition. They're not as serious with their faith. Is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't mean that people outwardly express that they believe in a higher power. It means that they actually believe in a higher power and act in accordance with a higher power. Okay, so this was a post about, oh, wait, what the fuck? Where's it going? MLD was right. Money alone doesn't cut it. Look at this bloke. All the money, Bitcoin, all the crypto, all the followers can't make your woman genuinely love you. Okay? There is no substitute with game and frame. You gotta game these women or you're cooked. Okay? And somebody, well, you know, there's a Bitcoin dude, you know, the Bitcoin bro, the crypto bros, okay? Somebody was arguing with one of my boys, okay, well, one of our friends here on X, Roman Simon. You need to man up, brother. Oh, okay. Let me read this post by this crypto dude. My wife this morning, immediately after sex. Why are we having sex every day lately? Me. We didn't have sex yesterday. Why do men and women experience reality so differently? Well, what I thought about this, why are we having sex every day lately? I think it's because the woman was confusing her husband with another dude that he actually had sex with yesterday. Okay, so wasn't this like a dead giveaway or something? And then Roman responded with, "You need to man up, brother. Woman asking why about sex is a very bad sign, of course." Okay, well, what did he reply with? A laughing face, okay? So, a laughing, crying face, okay? And so what I said after that was, damn, you extended the olive branch. The reply is a mere crying, laughing face. World is fucked. I'm all for the world reset, or whatever the fuck that thing is called. Hard times so we can have the strong men again. Okay, so in a way we could say that, you know, sometimes we gotta give some credit to these Sabbatean Frankists, if you know what I mean. They do have a point. Okay, but what's really boggling my mind is, what's the root cause of it all? Why do men refuse to accept and act accordingly with the truth? What makes them comfortable with a loser life? No money, no sex life, no fulfilling purpose. Okay. A dark future awaits cowards and NPCs. Okay. We're all in this collective improvement together. That's what I like to use, okay? Collective improvement. I don't like using the term self-improvement. It's like, it's implying that the path, the journey of improvement is lonely, or that it should be done alone, okay? You do not need to tread the path alone, okay? You do not need to do the journey alone. And I keep seeing these retarded profiles on social media that promote, you know, the lone wolf thing, that, oh, I must act alone. Only you can do it. No, motherfucker. It's like, how do you think this Shure SM7DB microphone was invented? Do you think it was only invented by one person? Are you that arrogant in your worldview, right? Like, do you think this computer that I'm using right now, the camera that I'm using right now, the buildings that were built, what made humanity great was a collective effort. You know, just like how we did it in the olden days, okay? Back in the old days, how did we hunt? How were we able to eat? You know, because we hunted as a tribe. We hunted as a collective. We hunted as a pack, okay? We weren't able to hunt just by ourselves, because if we did that, and there's like fucking saber-toothed tigers and giant anaconda snakes and like woolly mammoths roaming around, and we're only by ourselves with our inferior tools, with our inferior technology, then we would suffer the consequences of being retarded, okay? We'd suffer the consequences of natural selection, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Next. The UK government, wait a minute. This is from Karma. The UK government wants to send its young men to go and fight in Europe. This man's message is to all fighting age men not to leave the women on their own with a country full of illegal migrants. Okay, let's watch this video.
I've just seen that the government are expecting to send out our young men to fight for this country. I just want to put my... The government has just allowed thousands upon thousands of middle-aged fighting men to waltz into this country.
Okay, so I might have to cut in early because we already know what he's talking about. Not to disrespect the original poster of this video, because we already know what's happening. Okay. And so what I'm trying to say is that, okay, so he's telling you guys in the United Kingdom, or in the EU for that matter, okay, that you shouldn't leave because, oh, what about the women? Okay, what about not to leave the women on their own with a country full of illegal migrants? What people are forgetting is that who voted for the leftist policies which led to your current predicament? I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, I'll wait for your answer. Who are the people besides the men, of course, who were the primary causes of your current predicament? Okay, and we all know what the answer is, and yet you're telling us, or people on X are telling us or people on X are telling you guys from the First World West to die for the same people that cause your current predicament. You know, they voted for this, okay? And now, guess what? The responsibility is shifted to the men. Once again, it's always men's fault, okay? In the First World West, it's always your fault as a man. It's always your fault. Well, yeah, technically it is, but like, you know, if it really is man's fault all along, then why are we, you know, this is just a hypothetical question, but like, why are we giving equal rights to men and women? If that is indeed the case, if all responsibility, if all blame is shifted to us, if everything is always our fault, then why are we allowing equality? Okay, why are we giving equality? I don't even mind de jure, or some people pronounce it de jure, right? But it's in classical Latin, it's supposed to be de jure. Okay, so why are we giving both de jure and de facto rights, equality rights to men and women, if the fault is always on us? I'm just asking, okay? It's just a hypothetical question. Okay, so that's in the United States, Roe v. Wade. Okay, we already know this, by the way. Breaking. Unproductive loser hates capitalism, a system that rewards productivity. Okay. I don't know why I bookmarked this in the live stream section. It's supposed to be on the other bookmark collection. I'm trying to collect like I'm trying a new marketing angle, because like I'm trying to bookmark the foreign women, because sometimes, you know, when I'm using logic and I'm using facts and I'm using statistics and I'm using my own opinions and my own takes on things, people don't really believe it, you know, because I've always talked about this, you know, Proxima and the Ultima, okay? Because a lot of men, even though they already make tons of money, you know, they're already successful in business, but still, other than their business, they don't really have a purpose in life, which I find really amusing, which I find really interesting, because it's not really that hard to find what your purpose in life is. Just like what I'm doing right now, this is part and parcel of my purpose. You know, when I'm doing this, I don't really think that, oh, I'm just doing this because I just want clout and followers and money, and you know, I just wanna make money off of these, you know, men in the First World West who are looking to live their lives in the Third World or something. No, that's not it. When I'm doing this, it's not just to make a quick buck. You know, as some cynics, which unfortunately I used to be quite this cynic, used to be quite the pessimist. Okay, I'm not doing this just for any other reason, other than the fact that when I'm helping other people, when I'm giving value, I think of it as if I'm serving God. Okay, I'm not the usual, you know, oh, Christian going to Sunday school, or going to church at Sunday, and shouting hallelujah, because a lot of people do that, right? A lot of people go to church, but their life is a mess. They're doing drugs, and other than church, they're basically shitty people. And I've experienced that myself. Even my parents, supposed devout Christians, right? And they ended up separating, and then we had a broken family. And I don't believe in the usual mainstream Christian, spirituality bullshit. I know it's all bullshit, but it doesn't mean that we no longer have to believe in God. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that we should become atheists, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that there needs to be a reevaluation of morals, just like what our boy Friedrich Nietzsche once said, right? There needs to be a reevaluation of morals, or sometimes I read it as transvaluation, right? Because how spirituality is practiced today just doesn't make sense for what's happening today in the world, because times are changing real fast, okay? And singing hallelujah, hallelujah to the Lord. Shut the fuck up. That doesn't do jack fucking shit, okay? And half the church attendees are fucking demons, okay? Half the church attendees are fucking, demons in disguise. You know what I mean? You guys think that demons cannot enter the temple of God? How was Satan able to deceive Adam and Eve? How was Satan even able to enter the Garden of Eden? If that were the case, if Satan can enter the Garden of Eden, then surely lesser, much more inferior demons can enter the house of God, which is, well, actually, we are actually the temple of God, by the way, but not to become overly biblical, but if Satan can enter the Garden of Eden, right, then the demons can definitely enter the church, which is a much more inferior temple. I think the body of a human is the real temple of God. How the fuck was this deleted? Oh, it just said it was deleted, but it wasn't. Fucking bitch. Okay, so it's a post about Baal. Okay, it's a pre-Judaism, gods, right? The Canaanite gods. I recommend that you guys study the religions of Canaan. Okay, the pre-Judaism, pre-Abrahamic gods of Canaan. Okay, you can search. Tons of books are available on Kindle and on Amazon for the hard for the physical copies. Okay, but this is once again this post is basing it off the Judean bias. Okay, the Abrahamic Christian bias, that what people did back in the day with Baal and Molech. People call him Moloch, but it's not Moloch, it's Molech. Okay, Baal and Molech. Okay, people back then didn't think that what they were doing was evil. Okay, and the babies that were sacrificed were usually the firstborns, if not aborted babies. Okay, or babies that died because of famine, or if the mother had to abort the child because there was a famine, right? Or there was a war and they were about to be fucking slaughtered. So, yeah, that's or maybe, or perhaps it's also for reproductive purposes, right? Like the Kadishtus. Of course, condoms, like superior condoms and like reproductive technology wasn't really that superior back in the day. So what do you think the temple sex priestesses, the Kaddish Jews, what do you think the Kedisha would do if they got impregnated, right? Because back then prostitution wasn't a bad thing, right? It was a good thing. And what happens if one of her patrons happens to impregnate her? But unfortunately, of course, she cannot raise that child because she is a goddess. She's a servant of the goddess of fertility, and she needs to continue her holy sex work. I need to imply the holiness in this. Okay, of course, she's gonna have to abort her baby, and at times I've even read some research that tells us that the Qadishas were actually prohibited to have children, but they are prohibited in having biological children, although they can adopt children. Okay, and Kadishtus or the Kedisha is the Hebrew term, by the way, and the Kadishtu is like, I don't know if the Sumerian or Babylonian term. I think it's a Babylonian term, right? Because Sumerian and Babylonian languages are different. Okay. So the Kadishtus, they were like the Bronze Age form of OnlyFans models of today. But the difference is that the Kadishtus of our ancestors, they served a holy function, a religious function. So if you, let's say you were a rich merchant, or like you're a scribe, right? You're high status enough, so you can earn a little bit more surplus money, right? You can extract surplus value, right? You have more money, you're earning relatively more than the rest of the population. If you go to the Kadishtu, pay your tribute to the goddess of fertility, and then you have ritual sex, okay? Your wife wouldn't be mad at you, like nobody would be mad at you, because it's a religious function, okay? It's a religious function. I keep telling you this, guys. So the OnlyFans and the pay-for-play, hyper monetized dating romantic sexual marketplace of today is like a parallel to the Kadishtu, the Kedisha goddess of fertility culture back then. Okay. Okay, so this was my thread. I think I've already talked about this in my previous video. Okay, so this was the part that I wasn't able to talk. Yes, this is it. This was the next thread. Okay. Sauceler, 2026 to 2030. How to protect yourself from Agenda 2030 guide. The next 4 to 5 years are going to be the best years ever to stack W's. Well, it's not just the best years. 2026 to 2030 is going to be the only year. Okay, these are the only years, okay, to prepare, because after 30, things are gonna escalate pretty quick. But it's not just to flex the cars and 304s. All successful people and aspiring winners must read this thread. I found this banger YouTube video from Rafael, Senor Rafael. Okay, if you're watching this, thank you for watching this. Okay, this is his X handle. Okay, and he follows me as well. So you guys go follow ROG, aka Rafael. Okay, gracias, Senor Rafael. It's in Spanish, but the auto-translate subtitles are good. Too long, didn't watch. Joseph the Dreamer is the most relevant biblical story today. The owning nothing and you'll be happy is what exactly happened in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. Let me just check my X space. Let's see if it's still going on. Okay, it's still going on. Okay. So yeah, Joseph the Dreamer, right? Is at the ending of Genesis and at the beginning of Exodus. And by the way, just minor correction before I forget. I said back then that the Israelites weren't really called Israelites in the ending of Genesis and the beginning of Exodus. That's because when I read the story, it used the term Ivrim. Okay, it doesn't mean that they weren't referred to as Israelites, right? It's just that when I read the story, especially the Hebrew version, what I saw was Ivrim, okay, or the Hebrews, okay, during the end parts of Genesis and the beginning of Exodus. But of course, as you read along the Bible, they start becoming the Israelites, okay? They start referring to them as the Israelites, but it doesn't mean that, because it was already understood that the Hebrew people are, of course, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Okay? Yitzchak and Yaakov. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Okay? I'm familiarizing you guys with the Hebrew terms, okay? The Hebrew words, okay? Because we're going to, if you really want to become the ruling class, if you really want to become the ruling class, then you got to prepare for Pax Judaica, okay? And Pax Judaica, it would be a massive advantage if you know you're Hebrew, okay? The owning nothing and you'll be happy is what exactly happened in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. And this Bible story explains why them boys are doing what they do. It's literally in their holy book. It's literally in their Torah. It's literally in their Tanakh. Okay? It's in their holy book. And of course, the Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, is also the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. Okay? The solution is to prepare for an exodus long before the enslavement and great taking of assets happen. Just like what happened to the Hebrew people, to the Ivrim in Egypt. Which is why I keep supporting guys like Hispanic Nomad. Shout out to him. Okay? He's one of our great friends here on X. Okay? Because you folks really need to get an online income skill and leave the first world west, especially Canada, UK, EU, Australia. Because obviously this is not going to happen, but let's just say the United States magically collapses first before before Canada, UK, EU, and Australia. Basically, if United States collapses first in the Five Eyes, it's all over for the West, which is why the United States is the last bastion of Western civilization. But it doesn't mean that you won't leave. Okay, you need to prepare for the collapse, right? Because as I've said numerous times, the rise of the first world West, the West becoming first world, is a historical aberration. Okay, so it's a historical anomaly. All right, here's the strategy. Make online income, preferably more than 10K per month net. Get multiple residencies and passports, which is what I help you guys with. Buy agricultural land in low-key areas, in low-key countries. Well, I haven't actually talked about this. I'm going to talk more about this, okay? But this is more of an advanced topic. Maybe I'll have to create a course on this. This is important because we have to prepare ourselves from a repeat of Cerveza, okay? You guys remember what happened to Cerveza, right? The people who thought that they were rich, some of them still had to take the jab. Because why? Because they don't fucking own land. And guess what? You couldn't leave the vicinity of your house. You couldn't leave. Even if you could, right? You weren't able to buy groceries, right? Because they were asking you for your proof of vaccination. And that's what happens if you don't own your own land. Well, you're gonna ask me, well, why not just own land in the first world West? Well, there's fucking Monsanto in there, okay? I'm going to poison your crops with GMO, and they're gonna force you by law to use whatever poison Monsanto is peddling, right? And I know for a fact that Monsanto, and there are other equivalents of Monsanto in the first world West, okay, and they're trying their very best to infiltrate countries outside of first world West, specifically Southeast Asia and Latin America. But unfortunately, they weren't really, or fortunately in our case, they weren't really that successful because there were already local elites. Okay, they're like a lesser evil of Monsanto. They're not as evil as Monsanto, and they're not as gung-ho with the lawfare and stuff. You know, they don't lobby the government to prohibit farmers from using non-GMO agricultural practices and products. Okay, which is why if you wanna eat healthy, okay, and if you want to secure yourself from any Cerveza-like black swan events in the future, then you need to buy agricultural land outside of the first world west. Okay, having fiat currency, being able to earn 10k, 20k, 50k, 100k, 1 million per month in net income after taxes and expenses does not mean that you're safe. Okay, you need to buy agricultural land outside of first world west, and it doesn't have to be under your name. Okay, it can be under a trust fund. It can under be it can under be the ownership of a corporation. Okay, or it can be a joint venture. Okay, because most of the times you're gonna see something like 60-40 or like 50-50, like a portion of the shares of a corporation must be like 50% native owned, and then 50% only up to 50 or only up to 40% foreign owned. Okay, but you're not really doing this because you want to make profit out of it. Now obviously you can sell the excess produce of the agricultural land, but like the purpose of buying that land is to save yourself from any future black swan events, so you have your own agricultural food safe from the poison that Monsanto and whatever poison the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are trying to push on everyone else. Okay, the strategy is actually much longer, but that's the oversimplified version. I cannot believe people are not talking about this. Okay, DM for questions, follow for value. Okay. The reason why I share the story of Joseph the Dreamer is also because of the 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. Today's post-pervasive world up to 2030 is the 7 years of abundance. However, I'm not certain that it's also going to be just 7 years of famine after that. More like a perpetual famine for the 99%. Because a changing world order will bring us back, or rather usher in neo-feudalism. It's feudalism but worse, because now we have the AI panopticon dictatorship. 1984, the book, will look like a joke compared to what's ahead for us. Which is why I'm so fucking gung-ho in collective improvement. Online money, the expat life. Because tons of you motherfuckers refuse to see the truth for what it is, and acting accordingly. You MFers lurk my ex and wait for weeks before you start sending me DMs, which is true. Like, bitch, we have 4 years. Worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that the elites somehow become incompetent or lazy as fuck and give us a 15 to 20 year grace period, which I doubt, because, the elites of today, they're not like the elites of the past. At least the elites of the past have whatever mercy they have left. They still had some mercy, surprisingly. They still had a morsel of mercy for the 99%. But today's elites, the next generation of elites, they have zero mercy. They have zero mercy for everyone else. They only have mercy for their fellow ruling class. And even then, because of Peter Turchin's elite overproduction, right? Because there are too many elites. Because there are too many elites and aspiring elites who are about to become the elites. Okay, this creates elite overproduction, and once there's too many elites, much more elites than the system can handle, that's where civil wars, that's where infighting happens. And yeah, a lot of wars, a lot of infighting and conflicts, meso and macro societal conflicts are or can be classified as theater, but like some of them are actually legitimate elite infighting, and it's all because of elite overproduction. Because what happens is that at the beginning of a society, at the beginning of a civilization, there are only so few elites. Okay, so they're pretty happy with whatever resources, with whatever lifestyles that they have. But once more and more elites exist, and once more and more elites, once people, wait, how the fuck do I explain? Once elites become more and more in number, okay, so the resources aren't growing as fast. What happens is like the pizza, okay, the big pizza, even though the pizza is growing, but it's not growing as fast, or it's not shareable, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the elites cannot, the elites are not satisfied with the size of the resources that they're able to exploit. So, of course, according to natural selection, what's going to happen if there are limited resources, right? They're going to kill. They're going to kill the opposing factions, right? That's what happens with war, with civil wars. Okay, I think that intra fighting as opposed to inter fighting is more of a thing. Okay, people think that, oh, it's the USA versus China. Okay, Russia versus Europe. Okay, it's not. That's not really how the world works. There's more conflict within a country than there is between countries, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. People think that this stuff is not serious or that nothing's gonna happen. That's the most retarded take ever. What do you mean Cerveza wasn't serious? You motherfuckers probably took the jab. Okay, that's why you're saying such retarded shit. That event was just a test run for what's about to come. Soon enough, none of your 10K, 100K, 1 million per month will matter if you don't know how to protect yourself. You don't even know who's doing what. Remember what I said. A lot of you have already dialed in your income. Great. But you still have to. Get foreign domiciles. Learn foreign languages. Okay? That's going to be the next big project that I'm going to do. Okay? For those people who are interested in establishing themselves in the Philippines as their first domicile, it is an absolute must if you want to learn, if you want to live like a king in the Philippines, and it is an absolute must that you learn the native language here, which is Tagalog. Okay, if you're living in Luzon, okay, especially in the provinces that are adjacent to Metro Manila, which is Bulacan, Pampanga, Rizal, Cavite, Laguna. Okay, they're not directly adjacent, but like they're the closest provinces to Metro Manila. Okay, then, or even Batangas. Okay, it's a much farther province than Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, Laguna, okay, in Pampanga, but it's nice living there. Oh. So if you're living in these regions, okay, if you're living in these areas, then it is an absolute must that you learn Tagalog. And of course, I'm a native speaker of Tagalog. Okay. I don't know why, but I've noticed that I write faster and better in English than I do speak in English, because if you guys can notice, I speak much more slowly in English. And it's not as if because I'm fucking retarded or low IQ or anything. It's just that I don't get enough practice to speak in English. But of course, as I'm doing Sovereign Sentinels and as I'm uploading content, you know, I'm just speaking naturally, you know what I mean? But when I do voice acting, it's like as if I'm speaking at a natural pace. But that's because I'm fucking reading what I'm saying. But what I'm doing right now is just ad lib. It's just it's as if I'm doing a live stream right now, and I'm speaking slower than the pace that I want to speak in. Okay, this is why I'm speaking slower than your usual native speaker. But my accent is basically neutral. It's like American. Okay. But my Tagalog is like, I find it hard to write in my own native language, but I speak it fast. You know what I mean? Because that's the language that I grew up speaking in. Well, of course, I actually started out speaking in English before I spoke the native language. Like, of course, when I became an adult, of course, I was forced by natural selection to learn the native language. Okay. Okay. Buy agricultural land outside of the First World West. That's not a priority of the Tikkun Olam reset agenda. 4 years max if the elites locked in. 15 to 20 years max if they're planning to take a break. Marry and have kids with a woman outside of the First World West who's from potential ruling class or directly from the already ruling elite. Okay. And this is another topic that I haven't even discussed much. I haven't talked about it much. Okay. And once again, if you guys are not familiar with the content of Sovereign Sentinels. This is Kabalit. Okay, she's like the, you know, yeah, this is memetics. Okay, memetics 101. Kabalit is like the female anime waifu girl. She's like the mascot of the Kabalim. Okay, the Kabalim being the Cabal. Okay, the Cabal, the elites. Okay, especially the elites that believe in the Kabbalah, esoteric, mystical woo-woo stuff. Oily. Okay, oily. People say it's oive. Okay, so oive is Yiddish, but oily. Oily is actually the biblical. Okay, it's actually in the Bible. Oily. Okay, not oive. Oive is Yiddish. Okay, but that's not Hebrew. The Hebrew version is oily. Okay, oily. It sounds like oily, right? Like oily. Like oil, right? Oily. Stop noticing. Okay. How the fuck do I? Oh, wait. I didn't open a new tab again. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. It's still okay.
But across 3 different countries.
Okay, let's open this. And a new tab.
Canada, the United. This is Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. 3 nations spread across 3 different continents. But despite the distance, one alarming truth connects them all. They are collapsing in exactly the same way.
Okay, so if you guys want to watch the whole video, you can just go to Wide Awake Media. Okay. And so UK, Canada, and Australia's collapse is no accident. It was planned. And this is why I've been telling you guys to prepare for your foreign domiciles. Okay. We've already discussed this at length. Okay, London before versus now. No context videos. There might be copyrighted, so I'm gonna mute that. London 1960. Oh, I thought it was muted. London 1960, 98% British. London now, 36.8% British. Okay. And people still think that this Great Replacement is like a far-right anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, some bullshit. So fucking gay. Okay, so 1950s. Oh, it's post by Sama Hu. Okay. The saccharine disease. It's a long read, but yeah, I recommend that you guys follow him for some, health tips and carnivore diet. For the carnivore diet, it's going to help you. Okay, so remigration. Okay, people are rallying for remigration. You know what? You guys think that this remigration thing is going to be successful. Successful or not, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you need to leave. Okay, because once again, this is about the Galenian dialectic. If you guys are not familiar with the Galenian dialectic, it's the elites are trying to prop up, okay, entity A and entity B. Okay, it's like matchmaking, but instead of romantic matchmaking, it's competitive matchmaking. Okay, so I think you guys have already seen the meme of Mulikit, pulling the strings, and there's like Christians versus Jews, or like communist versus capitalist. This is the same shit, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? And so if you participate in these far-right groups, which either have been already subverted or infiltrated, or is a direct creation of the Adonim, of the Kabbalim, you're just wasting your time, your money, and your life. Okay? You're just propping these far-right, white supremacist, neo-Nazi groups, okay? So they can know who's who, okay? And once they know who are the people who will oppose the status quo and who are seeking to destroy the status quo, then guess what? Once they collect enough data and info, they're going to they're going to, destroy you guys, going to fucking send you in jail or just fucking kill you. And that's going to usher in the new world order. So you guys better be wise as a serpent. And it's from, wise as a serpent, meek as a dove, right? Well, I think I've already talked about this. Okay, so this is about a former British Army soldier. We're not preparing our sons and daughters for war with Russia. Okay? Then again, these videos will not be taken seriously by the people until it's already too late. Which is why whatever patriotism and asceticism and altruism, those isms, okay, those ideologies, those ideologies that have been implanted onto our foreheads by the Adonim, by the Kabbalim, okay, they've taught us the wrong answers. Okay, it's like the Bible story in Judges, the Sibolet and the Shibolet. Okay, the right answer was Shibolet, but the system told us it was Sibolet. Okay, and what happened to the people? I think it was Ephraim, right? The tribe of Ephraim. What happened to the people of Ephraim when they were trying to cross a river, escaping the conflict? Okay, they were asked to name what was the word for the stream, right? What was the word for the river? Okay, because the tribe of Ephraim were trying to cross this river, right? And the biblical word for river or stream was Shibolet. Shibolet. Okay, I keep mispronouncing this word because most Hebrew words are milgha. Milgha means the stress is always on the last syllable. Okay, if there are any Israelis watching me or any Jewish people, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, but milel is like penultimate stress. You put the stress before the last syllable. Okay, so shibolet. Okay, shibolet. But the people of Ephraim, their dialect was a little bit different than the Hebrew, right? Than the standard Hebrew dialect, and they pronounce it as sibolet. Sibolet. Okay, and what happened to those people, to the people of Ephraim, that mispronounced the word? They got fucking beheaded, and I think it was something like 40,000 people of the people of Ephraim died that very day, and they weren't able to cross the Shibolet, right? They weren't able to cross the stream, right? And that's exactly what's happening in real life. The system is giving us the wrong answers because it deliberately tries to mislead us. Okay, it's deliberately trying to mislead us because the system does not want elite overproduction. It does not want more competitors for its already burgeoning ruling class. Okay? So you better, besides of course working hard, grinding for your online business, besides that, you need to have faith in a higher power. Right? Faith in a higher power, and you need to trust, okay, that you need to trust in a higher power and put faith in a higher power, right? And you need to ask for the right answers. You need to ask for the right answers. You need to discover the shibolet, okay, the shibolets of life, okay, and be careful not to answer with the sibolet, okay. That's the wrong answer. That the system is trying to tell us that it's the right answer, but it's actually the wrong answer, okay. Okay, so ChatGPT and Nano Banana Pro, okay, which is why the end times, this is the end times of Judea, okay, of the current world order. It doesn't mean that it's the end, just because it's the end times doesn't mean that it's the actual end of the world. No, it's just the end of the current world order, the current Judean world order, okay. I've already talked about this in my very first video about Yehudaya and Shomraya, okay? And now we're going back, or rather, I don't really like saying going back because we can never go back, but like where it's a parallel to the past. Okay, we're going to the or our society or Earth, humanity, right, is on track to the Neo-Sumerian world order, the Shumagaya, okay, and society oscillates back and forth with between the dialectic of Shumagaya and Yehudaya, between the Sumerian paradigm, the Sumerian system, and the Judean system. Okay. So instead of you seeing news like these, oh, ChatGPT versus Nano Banana Pro, and people will like, oh my God, we cannot trust, we cannot trust social media anymore. No, nothing is real. All the elites, the Kabbalim are going to Islam. Was like, shut the fuck up. Honestly, like, use this, okay? If you see something like this, oh, Nano Banana Pro, okay. Think of a way for you to benefit from this, okay? People are using this for UGC. Okay, then use Nano Banana Pro. Go get some virtual assistant from the Philippines, okay? Or if you have your dude that's running your theme pages, right? Go train your Indian / Pakistani or Filipino dude to learn how to use Nano Banana Pro and make him do some UGC ads so that you can print more money. Okay, so that you can make more, so that you can earn more money. Okay, so that you can make that bank, and then use that very same proceeds to get multiple domiciles. And you can invest your first domicile in the Philippines. I can help you with that. Just DM me, my ex. Okay, and this is my ex. Okay, this is my ex, David Tablante at DTNL2MX. Okay, or you can go to sovereignsentinels.com. I'm still working on Sovereign Sentinels. It's just Gumroad for now because I'm dealing with a lot of other stuff, and I had to celebrate Christmas, of course, because I've been dealing with a lot of other stuff lately. Okay, so it's only Gumroad for now, but as we gain more support, as we gain more supporters, more loyal supporters, as we grow our community, our Sovereign Sentinels community, okay, I can upgrade the website, okay? Because I tried upgrading the website back then, but like nobody was really reading, so like what's the point of upgrading the website? Even if I have the money to like run the more sophisticated, upgraded website, because nobody was reading my posts. It was only this December. And you know what, guys? I almost fucking quit this because I wasn't really getting any traction. Because, like, you guys know that in business or in content creation, 3 to 6 months as a time frame to test whether or not what you're doing works, right? You guys know about that strategy. Well, I was already approaching the end of the 6th month, and or rather, I was approaching the second half of the 6th month, and I was like, I'm not getting any results, so maybe I should just go back to the online money space, just like how I did back then, because I didn't really prioritize the clipping and the content creation and the doing content for others and the voice acting, and I went full time with the Sovereign Sentinels, right? It is only at the 6th month, which is December, okay? I started the 6 months ago. It is only at the 6th month of December where I started getting DMs. And I even posted the proof on that, right? When people started showing and gaining interest on the stuff, on the content that I was uploading, right? So you can start here. I'm going to change this eventually because I'm charging too low. I think that, because I'm actually, when I check my followers, I actually see tons of really high level people. They're earning like, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per month in net income. And then they're going to see, $5 per month, $15, $45 per month. They're going to think I'm a fucking scam or a fucking joke, right? So I'm going to have to change that. But for now, if you guys are still watching, you can still, donate this amount. But I'm going to have to change this, right? Because my ICP and the thing that I'm selling doesn't match, and I haven't updated this yet. Okay, maybe I'll have to retype this. Okay, maybe this copy is too long and my audience just wants to give me money. Okay, to support my channel for the Sovereign Sentinels community. Okay, I'll have to change this. But it doesn't mean that you can't contribute to this. Okay, I'll just have to make a new page. Okay, and I'll just have to update my, oh shit, I'll just have to update my Gumroad. Wait, where was I? Okay. Okay, controlled demolition of the West. Well, we already talked about this multiple times. Google won so hard in image gen, it's not even close. Once again, stop complaining, stop bitching about it. Okay, stop complaining about the Pakistani the Pakistani dude is creating fake OnlyFans girls and he's earning more in one day than what his entire family makes in 3 years. Oh, it's so unfair. Shut the fuck up. You adapt. Adapt or die. Okay, that's all there is to life. Okay, so $10 donations just to see an AI avatar dance. And honestly, you know what? At this point, we're coming back to the kill or be killed way of life. Okay, so it's not that I'm fully endorsing whatever this thing is. As long as it's legal, okay, then do what you have to do. Okay, it's legal. You're not hurting anyone, and as long as within the realm of whatever jurisprudence of whatever country you're living in right now, there's nothing wrong with this. If anything, the people that are doing this are quite high IQ and they know how to play the game of life. Alright? Because most people are not gonna make it. I tried 10 viral AI image generation prompts, okay? Once again, you need to learn Nano Banana Pro. And just AI in general. Whites of European descent, the majority in America for 200 years, will be a minority in 2044. Okay, once again, that's what. Well, you guys are gonna tell me, well, why should we leave the West? Because the whites are going to be a minority. Okay. And what I'm telling you guys is that you leaving is not going to be that significant. Okay, it's a drop in the bucket. Okay, and if you guys don't want to be a part of this shit show, okay, because I don't know why there's tons of limiting beliefs that you guys believe in that's preventing you from leaving the first world West, even though you already have the online income. But what I'm trying to say is that there's only so much convincing and there's only so much persuasion. There's only so much content I can put out. There's only so much copywriting I can do. At the end of the day, if you don't want to leave, then I suggest you don't watch my content. You go back to the blue pill. Okay, you go back to the sibolit instead of the shibolit that I'm trying to teach you. And then when the time comes that tikkun ulam fully kicks in, I'm asking you to take responsibility of the decision that you made or the lack of decisions that you made thereof. Okay? Okay, enough prayer rooms designated, but they occupy the library. Once again, Ishmaelim, the descendants of Ishmaelim are sweeping over Edom, okay, the Chicago campus. Okay, DePaul University, is that how you pronounce it? I'm not familiar with this school. Okay, but once again, it's Ishmael. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Honestly, we gotta respect the hustle of the South Asians, okay? We gotta give credit where it's due. David, I'm pretty convinced that I need to exit the First World West. Okay, what the fuck do I even do? Okay, and as I've said, the 4 domiciles. Okay, I've already talked about this at length. Okay, first domicile, just a recap. First domicile, residential or lifestyle. Second, business or corporate. Third is financial. And fourth is the passport domicile. Okay? Okay, so this was about, the Yehudim. And I'm not going to play this because I've already talked about this at length. Okay, so Pax Judaica. Okay, I'm just going to discuss this briefly. And since we're already at the 2-hour mark, I think I've already done so much content. Okay, this is like my Christmas gift for you guys, the Christmas special, because I wanna bring value to our community, because people have been messaging me, so like, okay, so now we actually have a legit community, even though there's only a few of us on this corner of the internet. Okay, but all communities start out like that, especially the organic communities. Okay. So, I'm surprised some people here don't know what Pax Judaica is. Pax Judaica is where the real transnational #1 malevolent elite faction gained majority control of the world, specifically the First World West. Sabbatean Frankists, what people refer to as the Illuminati or Cabal. However, they will take form in the guise of Israel and the Yehudim, or Jews. So if ever Pax Judaica fails, it won't be the Sabbatean Frankist Adonim who get the blame. It's going to be pointed at the Yehudim, it's going to be pointed at the Jews, just like last time. Okay, they're trying to, although it's not an exact carbon copy repeat, it's going to rhyme with what the Austrian painter did to the Yehudim. Because right now, it's going to be 2026, right? So by 2030, 2040, we might see it may not be as I don't know to what extent it's going to be, but like we might see a repeat of what happened with the 1930s, 1940s, okay, where the Yehudim are going to be persecuted yet again, just like last time with what the Austrian painter did. We all know what the Austrian painter did with them. Keep in mind that Israel is conveniently placed 33 degrees north of the equator. Search for is Israel 33 parallel north. I'm not joking, you guys. This is why, the secret societies like the Freemasons are, they have this obsession with the number 33. It's not just, Illuminati number, 33, confirmed. No, it's like, you a lot of you guys that are watching are fucking pieces. I suggest that you just tune it off and go watch some Looney Tunes or some shit. Alright? This content is not for the NPCs who are about to be enslaved by the Adonim. Okay? The AI Panopticon dictatorship will be headquartered and managed in Israel. And of course, that's where the Great Taking will begin. Anti-Semitism will peak, forcing Yehudim to move into Israel. In order to accelerate their own nothing-will-be-happening dystopia, they'll instigate 3 major wars. But it doesn't mean that they're going to succeed. Europe versus Russia, USA and Israel versus Iran, China versus USA and Japan, South Korea. They might try they might try the USA versus Venezuela, but I don't even know, because if USA does indeed attack Venezuela, then I think the United States is going to collapse first before everyone else, which is like a really retarded thing to do. The last thing that the elites of the West want to do is to accelerate the collapse of the United States. Unless if that's their true intention, is to accelerate the collapse of the United States. So it's like a domino effect wherein we didn't really expect the United States to collapse at first, but then it invaded Venezuela, and then it invaded Iran, right? And then that accelerated the collapse of the West, right? But I don't know if that's going to happen. It's like a very small chance. But then again, small chance, big chance, who the fuck cares? You need to prepare for the end of the last convergence. And you need to prepare for your exodus. Okay? There's only leaving your way out of this. There's no fighting your way, nor there's voting your way out of this. There's only leaving your there's only leaving your way out of this, is what I'm trying to say. Out of all three major wars, number 2 and number 3 are going to fail. Okay? Europe and Russia is the most likely major war that's going to happen out of all these three potential major wars. In Ukraine, tons of men know the war is bullshit, but they go fight and die anyway. The more successful and knowledgeable people have already left the place long before the war started. Either way, Europeans versus EU or Europeans versus Russia, either choice is retarded. You need to look after yourself first, okay? But just escaping the First World West isn't enough, and making money, okay, isn't enough. CBDCs, digital IDs, okay, will be implemented in most, okay, this is my prediction, in most UN consignatory countries, along with other woke agendas. However, this can be mitigated if you become the ruling class yourself. Buy agricultural land in a low-key area. That's not a priority of Tikkun Olam. Marry a woman from the local ruling elites. Okay? Nobody discusses this on X. It's only me. Alright? It's only us, the Sovereign Sentinels, who cover this topic at length, repeatedly, over and over. Those who are mentally burdened shall understand what I wrote and spoke here, and thus you folks will act accordingly. Becoming the ruling class outside of the First World West is the only real long-term solution. Becoming the ruling class outside of the First World West is the only salvation. Alright? Both spiritually and materially speaking. Okay, I think we've already talked about this. Okay, so I think we're approaching the end of our X space and also for our recording. This is not a live stream on YouTube, although we're currently live on X. Okay, are we still live on X, or maybe I'm just gonna check yet again if okay, so we're still live. Okay. We're still live. This is going to be my last ride for now because we've already been going for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Where the fuck is my post? Okay, so this is my boomer moment. Okay, David, I want to go to the Philippines. But before I go there, how can you tell me that this country is the first domicile for me? Okay? Most people think in objectivity. What's the science? The statistics? I don't operate in that fashion. I'm more of an empiricist. Okay? I know the country far better than any other password bro or digital nomad content creator because I'm a fucking native here and I grew up bilingual. So naturally I know the ins and outs of this place. If you have me as a direct contact, you're less likely. Of course, I didn't do a hard sell on this, but it's like as long as you follow what I say, as long as you follow the I'm still in the process of making the course, but like as long as you follow the information, okay, the guides that I give you, okay, especially in the course that I'm about to release, then you're not going to have the same bad experiences that a lot of these other more mentally challenged passport bros are experiencing, okay, especially those who get fleeced or scammed. Or those who settle with the ugly, it's always the ugly third world women that they're settling with. I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong with their inner game, which is why I'm waiting for MLD to release his Inner Game Healing 2.0 course. So that people may finally deal with whatever issues that they have in their head, right? Because settling down with a super ugly, single mom of three with 3 different baby daddies, settling down for that, and then showing that on the fucking internet. You know what happens with that? It fucking ruins the reputation of my country, Now people think that, now there's a stereotype that Thailand and the Philippines, these places have mostly ugly women, which is definitely not true. It's just that you guys are fucking retarded, and you guys keep looking at the wrong places, and you guys don't have the proper guidance that I fucking provide, which is why I'm fucking here. All right? And you guys keep seeing or keep watching and keep listening on these equally gullible and equally clueless password bros, supposedly password bros, these supposed digital nomads, that have been living in Thailand or in the Philippines or in Latin America for 5 or 10 plus years even, that up to now barely fucking speak the local language. Can you fucking believe that? They've been living they've been living abroad for 5, 10 plus years. They can't even speak the fucking basic language properly. And these same people fucking fleece you folks thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars every month. Okay, on subpar information. God, you guys are so fucking... Anyways. And the women here are not that unfamiliar to the West and its culture. There's still going to be some culture shock, but it's not going to be that bad. I wouldn't say the Philippines is in the middle of Asian or Eastern and Western culture. But it's better to say the Filipinos have a better grasp of what the West is like and how to interact with people from the First World West. And this is the number one reason why I really think that the Philippines should be your first domicile. Because also, this is another good point, because I can speak and teach the native language here. I don't care what other people say, no matter how rich you are. If you cannot speak the local language, then what's the point of moving there? You'll never, ever, ever get the 8s, 9s, and 10s, which is what we call hyperpolygyny in Sovereign Sentinels, of any first domicile country just by being rich, without speaking the native language. The Password Pro, okay, not Password Bro, but Password Pro, professional, like MLD, shout out to him, MLD, will tell you that all the best women outside the West do not speak English. They just don't. The English language will contaminate the women in the third world because feminism, LGTB plus woke virus is a feature, no longer a bug of the English language. You cannot rely on red pilling your women or depend too much on frame because prevention is better than cure. The better English a woman speaks, the more westernized she becomes. Okay? If you have standards, I recommend that you date the Hapas, mestizas, half white or half East Asian, because they're usually the prettier upper class women. But it doesn't mean that native Austronesian women that are also 10 out of 10 that come from elite families don't exist. They do exist, but they're pretty rare. They're even, I consider them even prettier than the Hapas, because some retard on X insulted me because he thinks I only consider the Hapas as attractive. I didn't say that. What I said that usually, okay, usually the pretty women here have foreign blood, but that doesn't mean that the pretty women here, but the native pretty women here aren't pretty because they don't have native blood. No, what I'm trying to say is that since the native women that are 10 out of 10 in looks and also in everything else with the personality, and these 10 out of 10 native Austronesian women come from the ruling class, right? These types of women are so rare that they get scooped up immediately, right? Because superior, the genetically superior Austronesian genetics, or that Austronesian DNA is so rare among the local populace. That's why the elites quickly swoop in and they marry up that they quickly swoop in and marry that woman and have kids with her, because that's really rare in the Philippines. Because usually the higher IQ, the higher IQ, higher earning, prettier, prettier populations are usually from the mestiza class. Okay, the Hapas, the mestiza, the half white, half native Austronesian, or half East Asian, half Austronesian genetics. Okay. You need to speak the local language if you want to hyperpolygenize. Okay. Okay. Stop blaming the Jews or cultural Marxism. Okay. And also, okay, I wanted to save this because this is the best for last, right? The next generation of the Filipino red pill. If you guys saw my last thread about the godfather of the Philippine red pill, you guys know that he announced his retirement years ago. And ever since he did his retirement, he was like, there was like a chilling effect in the in Filipino social media, because a lot of content creators try to copy him, but like nobody was really teaching the red pill, or it wasn't as pure to the red pill like he did. You know, Joshua was really he was really like a pioneer in the Filipino social media, right? And so much so that Rollo Tomasi actually follows him on his socials. Believe it or not, I even checked it myself. I saw that, oh, Rollo Tomasi actually engages with Joshua's content, right? Because he's actually the only legit red pill content creator. Of course, I'm going to be the next after him, because he was trying to find a successor, but back then, I wasn't ready yet, so I wasn't really engaging with his content. I was just watching the content here and there. I wasn't ready to do it yet because I was too busy with my employment. Of course, I couldn't really create content about the red pill if I'm not that ready yet. I still have employment. I wasn't living in a nicer house yet, and so things weren't just. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that things weren't. I wasn't ready for it back then. The stars weren't aligned back then, so I wasn't able to create red pill content like how I'm doing it now. But this time, it won't just be about the red pill, since most red pill talking points are now mainstream. I want to take it to the next level, okay? So I'm not just, a Rollo Tomasi or MLD or Josh A. Wolf copycat, okay? I also have my own original concepts like Shepherd's Concern, like Shinafold, and my Proxima and Ultima, Yari Yari. I'm going to talk about Yari Yari, okay? About kapangyarihan. About power. Kapangyarihan is a Tagalog term for power, okay? And we're gonna talk about that. I've already talked about that back then, but like I didn't really have a big following back then, so nobody really saw what I posted. My original posts are surprisingly banger. They're classic, okay? Maybe next video I might have to do content about the original threads that I posted. The best threads that I posted are the oldest threads that I posted. My real ultimate goal is unravel the hidden truths, establish Sovereign Sentinels, which is our brotherhood, our fraternity, and create the next ruling class from the ranks of young millennials, Gen Z, and eventually Gen Alpha, when they become adults, of course. The first domicile is merely our tutorial phase. It's not even level 1, it's our level 0. Our ultimate goal should be to become the ruling class, if not as close as humanly possible. Remember that money alone does not automatically make you the ruling class. We don't have to be the transnational cabal. What I'm saying is that we should at least become a regional or municipal elite. Because besides getting to enjoy the perks and the lifestyle of being a part of the ruling class, we all know that it's the only hedge against the global reset agenda, or Tikkun Olam. Comment or DM if you have any questions. Merry Christmas to all Sovereign Sentinels. The dusk of Judea is now upon us, for we shall bask beneath the dawn of new summer. Okay, so once again, I was talking about, you motherfuckers lurking and binging my content, and you guys aren't even engaging, let alone DMing me, let alone leaving a comment, or even supporting our stuff at sovereignsentinels.com. Okay? And if you guys want to see more content like the ones I'm publishing, okay, like the ones I'm posting right now, you guys need to show me some support, okay? It doesn't have to be overly exaggerated since, I've only, I've been doing X for quite a long time, but like YouTube, I've only been doing it for not even more than a month. It's like I've been only doing this YouTube thing for 2 weeks, right? So yeah, I might have to do another 3 to 6 months of consistently uploading more and more content, especially video content, because I've already written like 80 to 90% of the stuff that I need to write. Okay, now that I've written most of the fundamentals of the fundamental stuff, I've written most of the fundamental stuff, the doctrine of Sovereign Sentinels, established by David Tablante, yours truly. So now I need to create more video content and more of a live stream format, just like this. Okay, so that you guys get to know me as a person, even though this is just merely a parasocial relationship, right? But someday, parasocial relationships can also be a bridge towards real social, direct social relationships. I don't want this to be just a parasocial relationship wherein you're just watching me from your iPhone or from your tablet, right? I want you guys to join me in my efforts to establish collective improvement. Okay, I want you guys to join me in my movement to establish the next generation of the ruling class. Okay, that has always been the ultimate goal. But my proximate goal is for you guys to leave the First World West and establish yourself outside of the First World West. And it doesn't have to be specifically the Philippines. But of course, if you choose the Philippines, then of course I'm going to be able to give you the best results. I can give you a better life here because I'm helping you directly, right? And this is and the Philippines is where I live currently. Okay, so yeah, that's it for today. I think all that I need to teach for now has already been taught. As we've already been going for 2 hours and 22 minutes. Okay, so this is the longest. This is the longest video or longest recording that I've done. Okay, so yeah, that's it for today, guys. Once again, I'm David Tablante, founder of Sovereign Sentinels. See you again in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on X, subscribe to me on YouTube, and tell me what you want to see next. Tell me what topics you want to see next in the comment section. Peace out.